What if the quiet architect of Apple's incredible $4 trillion empire is finally ready to step aside? After 14 years of remarkably steady leadership, whispers are growing louder that Tim Cook might soon hand over the reins, kicking off a succession drama unlike anything we have seen at Apple in over a decade. For over a decade, we have watched Tim Cook meticulously guide Apple since Steve Jobs' departure in 2011. Under his watch, the company has not just grown, it has blossomed into a global powerhouse, seemingly unshakable. But with his 65th birthday less than a month away, industry insiders like Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, a notoriously accurate source when it comes to Apple, suggest a changing of the guard could be imminent. Now, you might recall that for years, the natural heir apparent seemed clear: COO Jeff Williams. He served as Cook's number 2 for a decade, famously overseeing the wildly successful launch of the Apple Watch, and truly appeared poised for the top job. But then, a sudden plot twist unfolded this past July. Williams announced he would step down next year, leaving us all to wonder, who now stands ready to lead one of the world's most valuable companies? With the most obvious candidate out of the picture, the spotlight has shifted, and a new name is emerging as the frontrunner. John Ternus, Apple's Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering, now looks like the top contender. Ternus joined Apple's product engineering team way back in 2001, making him intimately familiar with virtually every major hardware breakthrough the company has had since. From the latest iPhones to the hugely popular AirPods, he has his fingerprints all over them. Importantly, he played a key role in developing Apple's own groundbreaking in-house chips, a move that completely reshaped the industry. Here's an interesting detail. Ternus is 50 years old, the same age Tim Cook was when he first took the helm. This makes him a fantastic candidate for long-term, coherent leadership, potentially steering Apple for another decade or more, especially when you compare him to other seasoned leaders in their late 50s or early 60s. We have also seen Apple's PR machine actively pushing Ternus into the limelight. At the last product launch, he presented the highly anticipated iPhone Air, one of the company's biggest innovations in years. And if you happened to be at the London flagship store for the iPhone 17 launch, you would have seen Ternus personally greeting customers, while Cook did the same in New York. These are not coincidences. They signal a deliberate grooming for succession. But the field is not entirely clear. A few other heavy hitters are waiting in the wings, each with their own unique strengths. Consider Craig Federighi, the Senior Vice President of Software Engineering. At 56, he is a familiar and charismatic face, often leading those high-energy product presentations we all love to watch. He has been with Apple since 2009, deeply entrenched in their software ecosystem. Then there is Greg Joswiak, the 62-year-old Senior Vice President of Worldwide Marketing. He is an Apple lifer, joining in 1987, and we have him to thank for orchestrating the launches of both the original iPad and iPhone. While he might not boast the deep technical expertise of Ternus or Federighi, his expansive, 30-plus-year overview of the company could make him a wonderfully safe, unifying choice. Someone who once seemed like a strong possibility was John Giannandrea, Apple's head of AI. As Apple seemed to pivot hard into artificial intelligence, he was the architect of Apple Intelligence. But, let's be honest, the reception to Apple Intelligence has been disappointing. This recent stumble raises serious questions about his future at Apple, let alone his chances for the top job. And finally, we have Mike Rockwell, a promising outsider who now heads up development of the Apple Vision Pro and its Vision OS, and has even taken over Siri development. These are significant, high-profile projects, but Rockwell might simply be too junior to go head-to-head with such fierce competition for the CEO position. The big picture here is that Apple has struggled to keep pace in cutting-edge AI. Following the lukewarm reception to Apple Intelligence, many analysts believe the company will pivot back to focusing on its core strength, hardware innovation. If that proves true, John Ternus's hands-on experience across nearly every major Apple hardware breakthrough over the last decade makes him an exceptionally compelling choice. This is not just a leadership change. It is potentially a strategic refocus for Apple itself. So, the coming months will be fascinating as we watch who steps up to lead this colossal company into its next chapter. Will it be the hardware visionary, the software showman, or the marketing veteran? One thing is certain. Tim Cook's shoes will be incredibly hard to fill, and whoever takes the helm will face immense pressure to innovate and redefine Apple's future. What do you think Apple needs in its next leader? We want to hear your thoughts. Join the conversation and subscribe for more deep dives into the tech world.